Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Third Eye Awakening. I am really excited. I say that every single time, but I truly am. I don't have anybody on that I'm not excited to talk to. But today I am especially excited because I have with me my dear friend and sister, Kasia Diana, and she is really a wonderful human being. I have the privilege of being her actual friend. Like we're just friends, but also we work together. I've worked with her in her healing and magic ceremony holding capacities, and she's worked with me, and it's just a beautiful sisterhood. And I know that we're gonna have a really deep conversation that like goes there. So I'm looking forward to it. So Kasia Diana is a woman gatekeeper and a high priestess of the temple, a protector of wombs, women, and children. She is the root and sacral chakra energy medicine and can hold portals for powerful and catalystIc healing. She is a womb circle and alchemist mage who has been gifted moon and blood medicine. She helps women with abortions, conception, sexual trauma and abuse, sexual relationships and experiences, fertility, infertility, period, and hormone support. She is a matriarch and uses her magic to channel healing for all matriarchs all over the world. She is not hosting the temple or when she is not hosting the temple podcast, she is in her kitchen whipping up ancestral nourishment or frolicking near a herb farm with her many animals and surrounded by family and trees. Welcome, Kasia. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Just before we started recording, we were kind of talking about like what's alive for you, and what is alive for you seems to be the same thing that's alive for me. So this is going to be some beautiful synergy. Welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me again. I love chatting with you. I love seeing your face. It seems like in the busy times of motherhood, this is the time where we get to really connect. So
It's true. Yeah.
super grateful.
And Kasia and I have babies very similar in age. Like I think hers are just a shade younger than mine, but like a shade, like months.
Yeah.
So we're in a very similar phase. We have like a slightly older preschool toddlerish child, and then we have a baby rapidly transitioning into toddlerhood, and it's busy. It's a busy life.
It's busy. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's a different level when you have to. It's pretty cool.
It's a different level.
I just wanted to share with you while you were doing my intro. I'm in my sunroom and I'm surrounded by trees. And then on the cherry tree, a blue jay came right up to the window and was just like peering with me and staring with me and hopping from branch to branch as you were doing my intro. And I love that. I love that because the blue jay for me is my husband's grandfather and very protective, beautiful, beautiful energy. So it's super cool. Super glad to be that close. Yeah. Yeah. And
magically auspicious.
yeah. Yeah. That ancestral stuff, right? It's really coming up for a lot of people. And you're not the only person. Once I shared a little bit of what's going on in my heart and you shared, and there are multiple people who have come to me talking about all of the ancestral stuff that's happening for them right now. So it's that time of year, I guess.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So let's dive right into it. I mean, usually I ask people to share about their spiritual awakening journey, but and like certainly share as much as you want about that, but we can also just dive right into the heart of what you're moving through right now and sort of the powerful energies that you feel in the collective as well as in your own life.
Hmm. Well, I will start by saying I had the most beautiful family healing session, and it was multidimensional. And it's not like a therapy session where you sit and talk. It's like it's craniosacral. It was mystic. It was body, mind. So my daughter, who cannot speak yet, she's only 7 months, she was piping in at the most integral moments of the session. It was interactive between me, my husband, my daughter, my son, and my dog. And it's amazing, beautiful mystic healer. And you can listen to my conversation with her on my podcast. It just came out today, actually. Her name is Jules from Cranial Waves, and she can hold a space the neurotransmitting signals that come from your brain, your craniosacral therapy, like up leveled. And so in my body, I had been holding this intensity for over 27 years. And, I kind of knew it and I've been working through it many years. I've worked through this identity of it and then shedding of the identity. And I'll share in just a moment, but it comes down to how deeply it was stored in my body and how beautifully she was able to hold me in such a safe space and the way my family all held me together in that sacred space. Have you ever seen Alex Gray? Alex Gray Cosm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like that. So we were all connected in this beautiful multidimensional way and we were just all lit up. And my body released information and she held her hands over my throat and everything was just safe and I was able to share. And I would love to share that because it's such a prominent, common thing. And I've been kind of asking people in my social media audience if they've experienced this. And we're just going to dive into it because it is so common. And I think right now that trauma is being dissolved so easily and intensely, quickly, but as easily as you choose. And sexual trauma is the name of the game, sexual abuse, rape. There's so much of that in the women's heart and womb centers at the core of it, really. And I know I'm not the only one. And I really hope that by sharing my integration and my journey, that I can make that a safe space for women because everybody's been coming to me for that my whole life. And I've been experiencing those things my whole life. And it really is my medicine. And I would love to just that's what's happening to me right now. And I would love to go into that deeply.
Hmm. Please do.
So when I was a young girl, I don't have many memories, and these were recollected as I've had intimate relationships, AKA, being in a place of trust, someone holding my heart in a space where I can feel safe enough to remember and to share. And when I was a little girl, there was not a lot of safety in my home. There was a lot of loud, angry adults. There was sexual abuse, there was sexual molestation, there was incestual rape, there was just emotional instability. And I thought I had the most perfect, amazing parents because my brain blocked it out. Such an amazing thing to have that resilience and saved it for me until I was ready to uncover it. And so fast track, until I was 18, my sister came forward with some information and then things just kind of started to come from there where one person spoke their truth and their power. And then it started to awaken everybody in the family and really, really was the beautiful catalyst to being heard. Then a few years later, I had more memories resurface because I was in an intimate relationship and he was so kind and loving and really held that space for me to remember. Now, I don't know if there was a capacity to be able to help me move through it because at the end of sharing what happened to me, I would end up comforting my partner. But it was a beautiful catalyst to me opening up that part of my body and that part of my heart. I'm really remembering what happened to me. And maybe for some of you listening, maybe this is really similar and maybe it's totally different. For me, it was a detective's journey. And so the more I tapped into my womb, the more I tapped into my heart, I was able to hear these things. So I was partially listening. It manifested as, different things. One of them being a big giant tumor on my ovary. And it had like hair and teeth, like such a masculine 3D,
Oh,
like
that's a sebaceous cyst.
it was a dermoid cyst, but yeah,
Dermoid. That's
yes.
right.
Yeah, but I was on top of my ovary. But yeah, sebaceous would be similar too. I think those ones are like
They just don't have the teeth, but it's the
teeth.
same kind of thing. They have
Yeah,
the other cells from other parts of the body in them.
right. This thing was fucking gnarly. It was like 28 centimeters by 31 centimeters. It was disfigured. I couldn't lose weight. And eventually I came of age and I took this into my own hands. I felt very grown up going to, a surgeon and maybe now I wouldn't have gone and done that, but that has been my journey to have that part of something that my body created to be removed. And I remember asking them to see it and I was super drugged up and I looked at it and it was all of this pain and intensity that I'd been harboring and putting down on my body and it was put on my ovary. So again, playing detective. where did this come from? How did it show up in my body? Why is it here? For those of you who are into energy work, if you are a woman, the right side of your body is masculine. So it's the paternal, it's the father's side of your body. If you are a man, it's the opposite. So that would be the mother's side. And then the left side of a woman is her mother's side. It's her maternal, it's her feminine energy that has been like ancestrally passed down. If you're a man, the left side is your father's. So knowing that information, I was like, there is some shit going down with my dad. Like, what is up? And so then I started digging deeper and calling doctors and asking them certain things and talking to friends and asking my sisters and really diving into what this is all about. Didn't think of asking my dad because that wasn't really approachable. And so then there was a lot of turmoil with the stuff coming out in our family. And I was told by my mother, go and get a polygraph test then. And it was kind of like one of her angry moments. And I was like, well, I'm going to. And I hired a policeman to do this polygraph test. And my father failed miserably. And at this point, I still don't remember what happened to me. And I'm such a bridge in my family. And I'm the youngest. My sisters are all much, much older than me. And I asked, the question was, have any of us ever been inappropriately touched by our father? And he failed miserably, but it was between the three of us. So there was no clear answer as to who or when or what. And he had an opportunity to come forward and he couldn't, you know. So then we all move on. I decide to do no contact with my parents because I didn't want that in my life. And I knew I wanted to have peace. And so that was what was going to give me peace. So from that space, I changed partners, I changed jobs, and things were really fresh and anew. And I had my healing down. I worked with this amazing sexual shaman. Her name is Gaia Morissette. She does the Orgasmic Life podcast. She does succulent living. She's amazing. She was so, so good at helping me tap into all of that sexual trauma and surface it and move through it. She's really helpful in my marriage as I was working through some things. And I felt super, super secure. I was like, all right, I've got this. I've healed from childhood molestation. I've done it. Go me. And then women started to come to me, women who have had abortions and want to connect to their star seeds, or women who want to have abortions and don't want to go the Western clinical route, women who are trying to conceive and want to do conscious conception and want me to hold that space for them. I started doing womb circles and facilitating places for women to work through whatever is in their sacral, whatever in their root, and transmuting it. And I've just constantly been given beautiful women to come and work with me in this capacity. I've had women who've had very abusive partnerships, or I've been through rape, just everything with yoni, sacral, all of that trauma and intensity. And I'm able to hold that space to help them purge and, eliminate and also just transmute through different modalities. Sometimes it's abdominal massage, sometimes it's shamanic. It's just very much catered to each woman. But then I had children, and then I had my own conscious conception. And there's a whole new level of healing once you have children.
Right.
Man, like inner child work is next level at that point because it's like an evolution of yourself, right? That's just procreation. It's the evolution of you and your partner outside of your body. And then now you have to work through maybe your childhood, or just seeing, for me, it was seeing how beautiful and amazing my children are. How the fuck could anybody, betray that trust? And how could anybody not be their protector? How could anybody not hold them in reverence and awe and be like, let's go learn everything instead of betraying them, right? So it's really intense and angering. The rage came once I had a daughter, though, and that was next level. And I didn't understand why I was so angry. I kept saying to myself, well, it's a righteous anger because of what happened to me. It was a righteous anger. And then I went for my family healing sesh, and that blew it all out of the water because I finally had to admit to myself something I'd been burying for over 27 years. I knew there was inappropriate shit that went down for sure. But I didn't know to what extent. And once she put her hands on my throat, I remembered being physically held by my neck. I remembered my bones being broken. And it was really intense stuff that I just pushed down for so long, like really abusive, horrible things. And I just had to say it out loud. I didn't because my children were there, but she held me in that space and it became my mantra. I was sharing with you how fucked up my mantra is because usually mantras are all like, I am peace or I am love or I'm a badass, you know? My mantra is I was raped by my father. And so now every morning after I do my meditation, I get in my space and I say that out loud to myself. And I say, I am in my magic. I'm in my power. I was raped by my father. I should, my nervous system just like settles down. I don't think I'm going to do this forever, but just to fully integrate and fully own that piece that came up for me. And my rage has subsided. I'm a much more present mother. I am way just happier about my life. It's like a lens has been lifted, a veil has been lifted, and I can really move in my authenticity. My intuition has increased. Oh, this is the coolest part. So the day she did the session, we stayed in the town because it was a super cute little beach town and we stayed. And then I went home and I weighed myself. I gained 20 pounds over one day. 20 pounds. Like that's insane.
Wow.
Yeah. Like talk about moving physical density, right?
Literally.
Yeah. And I stepped on the scale twice because I was like, what? That's not like that's impossible. The medicine tells you that's impossible. And then the next day I felt like I was hit by a fucking bus. I remembered like the bones that had been broken by my father. I felt the pain in my hands and my wrists. And I felt my throat being held. And it was a full day of me surrendering to my husband taking care of me, which was really, really hard for me to do. But he like just really stepped up and loved me and just gave me that space to be hit by a fucking bus. Guys, I couldn't move my body. I couldn't. It was like, it was everything that I knew first. And my nervous system was totally resetting. It lasted a day, maybe a day and a half. And then overnight, I lost 20 pounds. It was like just incredible. As I moved through the density, I journaled a lot. I use my plant allies. I use cannabis. I use lavender. I use chamomile. I use a lot of salt, Epsom salt. Did a
Mhm.
lot of journaling. And I was really just present with it and allowed my intuition to just open up and integrate it. And it was a lot easier than it ever happened. Like recognizing what had happened to me and doing all that detective work was really fucking intense as a teenager. And this time it wasn't. It wasn't intense at all. It was like, this is just what's happening. And now we've integrated it. I'm so glad you're listening to me. And then I also say, thank you so much, body. Thank you for holding that for so long. And thank you for being heard and giving me the right alchemy, which was my daughter, my son, my dog, my husband, and this beautiful woman to hold me in that space of I can totally relax. And so now I'm in this new place of power within myself, of power within my family. It's very easy for me to tap in and channel. I know I've shared with you in the past like postpartum period was really strange for me because I felt very disconnected from my intuition and my magic. And I was kind of scary. I thought I was losing it, but it wasn't. It was just holding me in that space that I could go through what I needed to go through and feel safe. And it feels deep. I almost feel like I don't want to share this, but I already did. So haha. But but it's like if I can uncover it from that depth, then know that you can uncover it too. And you may feel crazy. I was told by my mother, how dare you say those things about your father? And when I was writing in my journal, that's what came out. How dare you say those things about your father? And so it was pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. And then until I finally acknowledged it, that's when my nervous system was like, oh, fucking finally. It just got to relax. And when you're in that relaxed state, it's so easy for money to come to you. It's so easy for healing to come to you, the right people to come to you. Life is just a lot better with that as my mantra. So I just wanted to share that, like
Yeah,
acknowledging that darkness.
100%. Like, there's so many things that you said. I mean, what an incredible and generous share because
Mhm,
that's very personal stuff. Not everybody's required to share at this level, but some of us are called to. And I believe it's because it normalizes and validates for others who are listening, how, and just gives us an example of how the process can look. So thank you first and foremost for being willing to share that whole process with us and what you've uncovered and how you found your strength within it. And there's so many things that I want to say. I mean, so many things. First of all, the very last thing you said about how when your nervous system is relaxed, it's so easy for money to come in for the right people, like new magical people, or for your relationships to flourish, the people that are already in your life, for things to just go well. And I've totally observed that. And that's my motivation right now in this season to guide people through trauma release because I think of everything in terms of manifestation and psychic abilities. And really I think of psychic abilities as like another thing that we're manifesting.
mhm,
And what I feel is that when our nervous system, when our body is holding the somatic density of something that we've experienced, it can be from this life, it can be from other lives. Often, if it happened in other lives, it's happening in this life too, so that,
mhm,
it can get worked through. So it's not just a distant memory that we don't connect with. But what happens is our nervous system like tightens up and constricts around this thing because it was so intense. And until it gets processed and witnessed, we have this coiling of energy in our nervous system. And it hyper focuses us on like a survival level of reality. So we're only interpreting the energies that have to do with survival. And
mhm,
we're also like, fingers crossed, like, oh my God, hopefully that never happens again. And all of our choices go to like, how can I avoid that ever happening or it ever getting triggered because it's so intense, I don't ever want to look at it. And then what happens is it just gets triggered repeatedly. And often it actually happens again because the medicine is to look at it so that we can finish processing it and uncoil our nervous system. And when our nervous system is relaxed, the reason it's easier to manifest money, relationships, opportunities, psychic abilities is because all that information is around us at all times anyway.
mhm,
And our nervous system is the filtration device that mediates what information we allow in and allow ourselves to process and what information we shut out. And so if we're all tightly wound around trauma and shadow, then we are shutting out. Like the money is already there. The relationships are already there. The opportunities, the psychic abilities, everything, it's already there. But we're the ones that aren't able to let it in. There has to be space made for it. So I just think what you said is so on the money. And then also, like, I really love that you mentioned that this is your mantra right now, and it sounds fucked up, but really it's just you acknowledging. It's like this thing that your body has been silently carrying for so long needs to be acknowledged on a daily basis until it doesn't anymore. And you'll just naturally probably have a day where you're like, you say your mantra and you're like, I don't really need to say that anymore. Um, but it's kinda like if you think about our inner child, like the version of you that lived through something so intense, that child is like, "You can't just say you see me once and then carry on as if nothing. Like, you need to let me know every day that you still see it, that you're still with me, working through it with me, and you have not abandoned me." That's what it feels like to me. That's what feels so powerful about your mantra.
That's exactly what it is. And I'm that type of I'm still that type of person, but when I was a child, I would always do things by myself. I was very independent, and so I had to be heard because I had to do it my way, and this is my way, and my way is hopefully medicine for the other women that come to me because this is I've been through a lot of it. I've been through a lot of sexual trauma and abuse. And like you said, you kind of bring those experiences to you or you repel yourself from those scenarios. And in my case, I brought more and more because I was constantly the detective, constantly trying to figure it out, you know? one day I know I won't have to say this, but I'm in that fresh integration piece. So I think it's only about 10 days in. 10
Mm.
days into this experience and already so much has shifted. Legitimately, I feel like my world has become brighter. The women that I've shared my story with have opened up things that they've never shared out loud. I've had people in my audience reconnect with me and just share depths of their sexual trauma or abuse. And it's really a beautiful space to witness because things are just coming up and then it's like the fall. They just kind of go with the leaves, go with the wind. It's all being moved. You don't have to hold on to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I, this also really validates for me something that I started feeling. I it was probably in like maybe May or June. I just started getting this feeling like, oh, karma is over. Like I don't really know what that means, the mechanisms on all the dimensional levels of how karma plays out, but I just knew that karma is over insofar as the actual mechanisms that kept us locked into these repeating patterns of playing the same thing out over and over and over, whatever it was that held us there has dissolved. And so the stories are still there because we really experienced them. But it's easier, just as you said, it's so much easier to process it now than it ever was before. I refer to the process as something like sending it up to data collection because what I was kind of guided to do as I was processing, like I would just have these random trauma feelings come up. Some of them are personally mine. Some of them I have no idea who they belong to, but they would just like I would get this like, oh God, this nightmarish like memory. It wasn't from, I don't think it was from a past life. I think I'm just picking it up etherically of, like some terrible thing that somebody's lived through. And my guidance team, I guess, told me to just like get into the fetal position and kind of like cover my head and like wrap myself up like a little baby and let it process through my psyche and my body, let myself feel the full wave of whatever was being brought forward. And then it's kind of like I was in a teardrop shaped little hammock. And then after I had finished cycling it through myself, it just would go up the top of the teardrop back up to the data collection department, which I think is just the oversoul consciousness that we all come from. And it's kind of the realization for me was like, none of this it's difficult to articulate this because I don't want anyone to misunderstand me, but none of this actually has anything to do with any of us. None of the traumas we experience are personal, apart from the fact that we experience them. But the pain that was inflicted on us by life or by another person or whatever, none of it actually has to do with us. And the karma doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the oversoul. And so we don't have to walk around feeling burdened and carrying forward the stories of like, this happened to me because I must not have been cute enough as a child or lovable enough. Or, like I'm sure there are all kinds of stories that go through the mind of somebody that was abused by their caregivers as a child. This like feeling like I must not have been a good enough kid. And that's why I was treated that way. And now there's this lightness where it's like, oh, fuck that. Like, no, has nothing to do with it. I don't have to carry that burden anymore.
no, this is the medicine for the collective. Like, I'm walking and moving. It's not just my stuff, but it's also my mother's. Yes, it's my grandmother's. It's like intergenerational, ancestral, yes. But on a collective level, I feel like I am moving this depth for everybody. And at the same time, as like deep as it also feels as though because it's everyone else's, it's easier to move it. It's like it's almost held by so many other beautiful souls doing the same work that as I release it, it's just very easy to release because I'm not the only person doing this exact work at this exact time, in this exact time and space. Like it feels multi-directional. It feels like there are multiple women doing the exact same experience, having the exact same integrations. And we're all just kind of holding one another in that intensity. We're doing our ancestral work, but we're also doing everybody else's work right now. with the mass awakening of women, like yoni and heart work is like paramount because that's that connection that's going to move and create this maybe new earth or this ascension process or tapping into your psychic abilities, right?
Yes. Yeah, totally. Exactly. I just started my program, Sorceress the Answer, and I opened it up to men, but no men joined, but that's okay. So it's all a powerful group of women. And when I was first channeling the program, I thought it was going to be, or the initial downloads that I got were all about wielding our power. Like none of it had to do with shadow work. And I just was like, "Well, okay, well, I guess we don't need to do it." But as we were approaching the start date, I started getting this information like, "Nope, no, there we." What does it feel like? It feels like basically entity extraction, parasitic entity extraction from our different portals, and then like clearing and healing them so that we can do this work. And I started to get really aware of different implants that are affecting people, different things that feel like if they feel like seals, like almost like certain chakra gateways have been sealed so people can't connect through them, as well as like gate locks, like in particular places in between particular chakras. And I really started to appreciate that our wombs, I mean, I've called them portals for a long time, like multidimensional portals, but then I'm like, no, they're not just portals. They are, but they're stargates. They are literal stargates that
Yep.
allow, like when we see like Star Trek and you know how they stand on the spot and they,
Mm,
what is it called? I can't remember the
getting
word.
beamed up.
Yeah,
Ollie, yeah, got it.
exactly. It's like that's what we're doing, but it's literally through our womb. Like
Yeah.
this DNA light body energy enters into our womb and an entire being materializes its own avatar inside of our womb. And we open up and birth into the world a fucking like interdimensional being.
Yeah.
It's, and so, yes, like no wonder there has been so much rape and trauma because it's the hijacking and the desecration of stargates because the darker, you know, the ones who are behind the false matrix mainframe that would love to just use us in perpetuity as their energy source,
Mhm.
they they don't ever want us to realize how sacred that space is. They want us to be engaging in trauma informed, subconsciously, unconsciously trauma informed sexual exchanges that are very surface level and are, you know, sought out in order to numb the pain rather than be like part of like a holy union. And when I say holy, has nothing to do with the church or the government or any, you know, authoritative body's decision that something's holy or isn't, but I mean like that beautiful sacred, even if it's like
Yeah.
even if it's just meant to be just that one time. Like, I'm also not trying to say people should be married or they can't have like, you know, one like a one-off sexual encounter, but there's something really magical when you feel and you know that the connection is actually like divinely aligned versus, you know, having sex because we've been culturally programmed to completely
Right.
disregard the power of our stargates. And then men don't have a similar stargate, but of course men have been like deeply traumatized and wounded as well. And I'm not sure, there's this one woman, I think her name is Danelle Barbara something or other. Danelle Barbara Randall, and she does cervical wellness.
Mm.
And I heard her talking on somebody else's podcast, and she was talking about the cervix as a record keeper. And I was like, holy shit, you're so right. The cervix holds the memory
Yeah.
of everything. And I think for men, it's probably their prostate, but I'm not
Mhm.
100% certain.
That's kind of my theory as to prostate to cancers and that kind of thing. It's overusing that vitality and giving it to the wrong sources. It's
Hmm.
kind of like casual sex and porn is not really sacred, you know? I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, one-off sex, okay, that's a different story. I just mean the perpetual programming of I don't want to be in a sacred relationship to experience true intimacy. I just want to experience sex and move on kind of deal. That's not a sacred exchange. And when you are engaging both of the portals, right? Like you have the phallus and the yoni, you have the lingam and the yoni, right? You have the entry and the and the what am I trying to say? Like the ignition of the key. Yeah, exactly, exactly. When you have those two in such beautiful synchronicity, you can't help but have magic. My partner and I manifest things in our sexual experience all the time. It's very, very sacred between us. That place is a womb, like, I'm the expander and he's the seed, and so the more I nurture that seed, the better the raw material is when it comes into my body, whether it's for conception of children or materialization of goals and dreams, healing collected women's wounds, it's like that is the space where that magic is so sacred, and they know that. The false matrix overlords know that that is such a powerful place, and so we are almost persuaded or distracted to go to those places with porn and casual sex rather than that true intimacy with someone. And it can be a one off, it can also be for the millionth time. But
Mhm.
when you're in a sacred space, you can feel the difference. It's like, was that song from Alchemist? It's like, sex is always better when there's feelings involved. And it's true.
Yeah.
Right? Really connecting to that energy, and the more women that have powerful sex, especially after trauma, especially after sexual abuse, you can really keep those parasites or implants that you're talking about at bay because they feed off of that trauma, and it can also be regenerated from the perpetrator or the abuser, and it can keep getting stuck onto you. But if you keep vowing yourself to pleasure, you keep vowing yourself to healing, you can really just create such a bubble from that stuff ever really infiltrating your space, your mind, your body ever again. And there have been many women that I've massaged that I can feel their past lovers in their womb, and
Mhm.
I've guided them through cutting different cords, and the cervix is definitely a big part of that, but it's all connected. I feel like she's just this beautiful space of record keeping, of portal opening, of gatekeeping, and no wonder everything's getting confusing about women lately, and women and men and gender. It's again another distraction.
I honestly think that the reason that they're doing all this is because despite their best efforts, just as you were saying, so many women and men are healing their sexual trauma. So we've been subject to, I've heard it referred to as sexual misery programs. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's
Totally.
exactly what it is for generations, generations. I mean, I actually think that's what sexually transmitted diseases are. They're physical manifestations of like horrible trauma that has
Yep.
been perpetrated against both men and women. Like, the thing is that men and women, male and female, those divine principles are it's the first bifurcation, but it's like a beautiful bifurcation of the whole, the oneness. And those two pieces are ever seeking to reunite and birth a new thing, reunite and birth a new thing together. So it's like the oneness separated into like the feminine, which has all these qualities, and the masculine, which has all these qualities, equally divine. They're both the same, just different expressions of the oneness, and they come together and birth a new thing, come together and birth a new thing, whether it's a human or a world or a piece of art or a poem or whatever. That's what's actually happening here. And because it's so powerful, they have basically infiltrated us with sexual misery programs, and porn belongs to that. Casual sex, rape, incest, obviously like child sacrifice and ritual abuse and all that kind of stuff. And even though we've been like locked in the most intense experience of that for so long, something is shifting so that we're able to start working through it and release it. And they can detect that. And so they're like, well, let's throw another, wrench in the spokes. Let's start in with confusing the trans agenda and trying to bring it mainstream. And I'll preface this, or I guess I already started. It's not really a preface, but whatever. I'll I'll say though that like I want everyone to feel that their authentic self has a place and it belongs. So nothing I'm saying is to suggest that you're wrong for being trans, or it's made up, or that anybody shouldn't be like have a sexual orientation, or that only people the only holy union is between men and women. Like none of that. That's all more programming.
Mm.
So if somebody genuinely feels trans, I love you. I support you. If you tell me your pronoun, I will do my best to remember and address you with honor and reverence. Like no part of me wants to take away from somebody else's experience, but I see the way it's being whipped up and brought into the mainstream. And I believe that it is to try and thwart the progress that's being made and further confuse and fracture the divine feminine and divine masculine principles and prevent them from finding like their wholeness so that they can reintegrate into like the original sort of creation blueprint.
Uh, More than ever, we really need to be realistic with our children. More than ever, we really need to hold that space for them to understand women's bodies and men's bodies so that they can have that safe, sacred experience when the time is right. Making sure that that holy space is protected because children are so pure, they're so connected. And of course, there's sexual misery programming around children, right? Of course, the pedophile agenda is strong because the energy that children create is so powerful. It's like Monsters Inc. I keep bringing
Yeah,
it up.
totally.
It's like Monsters Inc., right? So protecting the children and giving them the words and tools. My son asks, well, how come dad doesn't breastfeed? And men don't breastfeed. They don't have mammary glands. And that's why I'm a woman's gatekeeper. That's my belief system. And that's how I move in this world because I feel women being erased. And as the creators, we are the creatrixes. Everybody has been in a uterus. Everyone has come from a woman.
Yes.
Like we are like I'm not trying to say I'm holier than thou because I'm a woman. I like it's not that. It's just women we create. And so I am in a responsible space to hold that gate so that other women can hold themselves in that gate so we don't lose women. Women are very important, just as men are very important. But recognizing that it's a gate, like you said, it's a stargate that women are, and I hold that space for women. I'm a woman's gatekeeper and I feel very strongly about women having a space. I feel very strongly about women being women, women having wombs, women breastfeeding. I feel very, very strongly about that because I don't want that to be erased for my daughter. I don't want that to be erased for millions of women all over the world who have raised every single human that has ever come to this planet. There needs to be a space for women to be women.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Like, I am really glad that I got out of midwifery when I did, because I can't imagine. I mean, never mind all the COVID crap, but I can't even imagine navigating the language changing to birthing person and chest feeding. And again, like, I hope if you're listening and you're trans and you identify as whatever however you identify, I really it's not my intention to make you feel attacked. I'm talking about the overarching, like,
That's it.
social
Art.
programming agenda behind it. So it's not
Yeah.
you individually, I love you, I hold space for you, but it's sort of like, for example, when I if I were still midwifing, I know that I would be being pressured, required
Mhm.
to change my languaging with all clients, including traditional Amish and Mennonite clients, no matter how that makes them feel, because there's this whole virtue signaling bullshit that's wrapped up into these agendas that prey on people who have really good hearts and don't want to be part of the problem. They genuinely care about social justice and they want to be part of what they perceive the solution, but they get their validation from what other people think. And so they start adopting policies and enforcing policies to give the give the impression to outside, like, onlookers, that they are part of the solution, and they're not really searching deeply is like, is it actually a solution to use languaging such as chest feeding when, like, honestly, it's boobs. If you don't have biological boobs with like milk gland tissue, you can't feed a baby from your boobs. So it's not a chest, it's breasts. It's breasts. It's breasts. And women have breasts and women have wombs. And so it's not a pregnant person. Like this is, and again, this is just me. So nobody has to take this on. But I feel like if even if you are a trans person, you are a woman, but you identify as a they or a he, and you decide that, you want to have a baby, wonderful. If you have a womb, great. And then you have a baby in your own womb. At that time, I feel like because you're using your biological sex
Mhm.
organs to produce a human, then let's just name it what it is. You can still prefer to be called a he or a they, but you're not a pregnant person and you're not chest feeding in that time, in that passage, that season for the purpose of having a baby. Let's recognize and honor that only women's bodies can do this. You, you are a pregnant woman in this situation for this season in your life, and you are a breastfeeding woman, and in the rest of your life, you are he, you are they, you are Z, you are whatever, however you perceive yourself to be.
Mhm.
But it is an erasure of the recognition that, like, uniquely women can do this biologically. Uniquely, it is women.
Mhm. It is uniquely ours, is uniquely women's. I think that's a really beautiful way of putting it, of just recognizing that in that passage of time, that is who you are, that is the magic that you are working with. And that gives it such an honor.
Mm.
That gives it such an honorable place. And that honors mothers before you, mothers after you. It also honors your own journey. The way you're able to morph, the way you are able to hold and nourish and create. And isn't that just the feminine energy to a T? It's just holding and nurturing and creating. That's just, some people are just more adept at those energies,
Mhm.
biologically. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to create a baby because I have womb space for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love the way that you
Powerful
put
thing.
that. That's the magic you're using. That's so beautiful. That's exactly it. It's like the way you put it just now takes it out of all of the social political programming, and just it's like the acknowledgement that, oh, if I am gestating and birthing and breastfeeding a baby, I am using the woman biological magic in this
Yeah.
process. Let's just honor it. Mhm.
I've done abdominal massage on men. It is completely different when there are testicles versus ovaries in that place. The womb really does hold like the Rolodex of your past partners, of any trauma you've experienced, any maybe invasive procedures. It just holds it all. And the men's energy and body does not. And I can say that because when I place my hands on a person, I am gifted almost like it's like a reproductive map. Maybe you see things in light codes, Amy. I see things in like a blood and pleasure. I don't know how to describe it really.
Such a Scorpio.
Yeah, totally. And so when I can feel your blood moving and I can feel your organs filling with blood and releasing blood and nourishing, and there's a different codex within the womb. And I hold that energy so carefully and so specifically because I can't move that with men's energy. It just doesn't, like, men's energy is like forward, front, they're the seed, they're the raw material, like it's different. I can't hold that space for women's sexual trauma. I have to hold it with a woman's mind. I have to hold it with a woman's womb. I have to hold it with a woman's heart. And maybe that's why we're called women womb. I don't know. But it's a different, completely different energy. And I love that that's my gift. I love that I've had all of the experiences that I've had. I love that they've all been so fucked up and that I'm able to move through them and be like, okay, so then when I feel it in another woman, I can easily say, this is my medicine. How can we work through this? This is relatable. my first birth versus my second birth. Everything that I do is in that blood magic, is in that mood magic, is in that womb magic. And it's its own thing. It's its own thing. There's no school for this. There's no, I mean, my life has been my school, I would say, but
Right?
there's no, yeah, yeah. There's no place you can just go and learn this. You just have to feel it and touch it and be it. And I am most certainly a woman's keeper.
You're so powerful. I love you so much. And I'm so thankful that you are so willing to see yourself and believe in your magic and bring it forward in service. It's really beautiful.
I've accepted my mission. I
Mhm.
think that's what it's about. Just accepting what we're here for. And I'm a patterns girl. My pattern has everything to do with sexual abuse and womb and blood magic. So here we go. Thank you for bringing me in my power.
And I feel like I would be remiss if we didn't take a couple minutes to honor the journey that you had with both of your births because I got to be part of the preparation of your second birth and then the processing and honoring of your second birth and it is really beautiful, beautiful story.
Free birth is a completely different feeling. And it was a total beautiful dance with my daughter versus my hospital birth with my son, which was completely his plan all along. He showed me that that was the plan all along. And so now I have those two experiences of completely opposite spectrums that I can relate to other women with and to understand my journey with my children deeper. It's like a death and a rebirth. It's really, really a beautiful place to be. Thank you for being there for me through the birth portal and the transformations and everything. Yeah. Holy moly.
Yeah, I mean, once midwife, always a midwife. I think like I'm here for the moms and the babies and the family.
Yeah.
So would you share just a couple of words about how like what transformation it created in you to make the choice and then have the experience of free birthing your daughter?
The alchemy was not really my doing. It was mostly my daughter. So I helped facilitate it. I helped move us to a home where I was feeling called to move. I created a space where I felt safe to birth, but it was all already decided. She was coming here into my arms. She was coming here into a quiet space. And actually, our bedroom is on top of a portal in our home. And so she chose the spot. Like I was like, I'm gonna birth in the bathroom. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. Like she's like, no, we're birthing in the bed because I want to be in that space so that we can all open up together and really help move a lot of stuff. It was incredibly powerful to have the dance with her, but then also recognize that I am the captain of the ship, and now we are going to the portal is in a secure holding space, It's time to go down and meet the earthlings. And it was a really powerful way to be in that power. It felt like my crown completely opened up at the same time as my root opened up. And then it was like a funnel from the stargates coming through my head, down through all of my energy portals, through my root. And then that's the stream of love that helped push her through into this space. And then taking the many months afterwards to understand who she is and her needs and close up my portals appropriately and renourish my prana, renourish my mom and my energy with ancestral food and really having a lot of sleep. I've just stopped sleeping in the mornings now. Like my husband has been on for the past 7 months every day with the whole family so that I can rest. And now I finally feel my body is healed, my adrenals, my life source is back. And it was a beautiful, yeah, it was an alchemization that was brought by our conscious conception and then carried by my daughter. And then now full circle through my husband and I again, closing my body, closing the energy.
How beautiful. What an amazing description of just the true magic of the birthing process, the conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, all of it, the magic of how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
I'm so happy that you got to have that experience.
Me too. And if it wasn't for my daughter coming, I wouldn't have had the right, again, alchemy to have my body and my nervous system get a total reset, you
Mhm.
know, just trusting that everything and every person is coming to you at the right time. So if you're listening and you feel called to share your story, or you feel like I might be the right person to work with for this kind of medicine, please just reach out to me. I will always refer you to somebody better if I don't feel like I'm the right person for you. But there are many women who have walked with me in their trauma or their, you know, abortion star seeds or conscious conceptions calling in their starlings. Maybe you just want easier hormones, whatever it is. I've kind of been through it. So if you feel like I'm the right person to share that with, please just message me on Instagram through the temple.Kasia Diana. You can also check out my podcast. I'm creating a Sears catalog, Rolodex of amazing women. And I have wonderful conversations with lots of priestesses from around the world. So take a check there. It's the temple.podcast. We're on Spotify as well. But I would love to hear from anybody who feels that they are ready to connect their heart to their womb. That's my high priestess magic.
And very magical. I opened up by saying that I had worked with you. That's how we met, was you were holding a womb ceremony at a mutual friend's house. And I had never met you before, but I totally remember when I met you, I was like, I know her. It was a really, really striking feeling. I remember feeling that about Victoria too. And you're very powerful. The way that you hold space, I can only imagine how much more powerful and potent it is now because, that was like 2 years ago, 2 years ago in October.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
that's
right.
wild.
Oh,
And
we've known each other way longer.
oh, totally. I'm like, 10 years. My God,
Long enough.
way longer. But also, I've been meaning to tell you for a long time too. I'll just say this as the last piece and then I'll let you go. But you did also, obviously, if you can't tell already, Kasia's super psychic. And she did a flow card reading for me at the end. She did one for, I think most of us wanted one.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you remember, but that like you let me pick from different decks and like pick up the cards and whatever. And the last one you turned over was the Rainbow Prince.
Mm,
And I had just gotten pregnant with William. And I was like, like my period was maybe a day late. And I knew I was pregnant. I knew I was. And I couldn't tell anyone. And I knew it was a boy. And I knew it was a gift from Killian. And so this Rainbow Prince card was like, well, holy shit.
oh, that's so
I
beautiful. And that's why you didn't want a Yoni steam that day.
Yeah, yeah, and that was that like, the confirmation came through you basically, because when you're brand new, first pregnant, you're like, "I know I am, but am I crazy? I know I am, but am I just hopeful?" Like, yeah,
Oh, my God.
magical.
So
You're s
magical.
Yeah, you're so psychic.
Oh, man. With everything womb I am. I love wombs. Wombs love me. Mm, that's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Well, thank
Aw.
you for being here and for sharing your magic and your wisdom and the healing that you've been working with. And yeah, if you're listening and you're like, it's my time, it is my time to heal my womb and my heart and my root, please contact Kasia because you'll be hard pressed to find somebody who will hold you with more tenderness and more powerful magic than she.
Really do love you all. I really, really love you all so much. From my womb to yours.
And thank you, beautiful listeners, for the powerful currency of your attention. I hope that it served you and it feels like attention well spent. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you on the next episode. Hey, my beautiful friend. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Third Eye Awakening. If you like what you heard and you want to go deeper, then head over to my website, amybelair.com, and check out my store, which is full of my past programs, courses, modules, master classes, light codes, etc., that are powerful and they are potent and they pack a punch. Not gonna lie, they are here to support you, accelerate you, and activate you in your spiritual awakening and psychic development journey. And/or
If you want to stay in my most current, vibey, live energy, then I suggest that you head over to the Patreon and join me there. At the lowest tier level, which is only $5 a month, you get a secret bonus episode for every Third Eye Awakening episode that goes out. You also get a weekly energy report and light language activation, and you get a new moon and full moon emancipation transmission. So, those are some fun ways to play, and I'll just remind you that I always have live programs going, so keep your eyes on my website, on my social media, and here on the podcast to find out what is the most current offering that I have. Either way, I love having you in my world, and I hope that I get to meet you and work with you soon.